Welcome to Smart Women Talk. This is your host, Katana Abbott. I'm a midlife millionaire coach and a certified financial planner, and I search the world for smart women and a few good men, including best-selling authors and thought leaders who are on that leading edge. So join us for conversations on money, business, health, and inspiration, so you can live with more purpose, passion, and prosperity. Hello, everyone. This is Katana Abbott, and I want to welcome you to Smart Women Talk. This month, we are focusing on uncluttering our lives and creating more simplicity and ease. The clutter I'm talking about is more than the physical stuff because it includes the mental clutter that occurs when we're overwhelmed or we just simply have too much to deal with. So today, I've invited author Colleen Kilpatrick to join us as we dig into this topic. So we're going to be sharing what tolerations are and the negative consequences of putting up with things that are not in aligned with your values. Also, how to quickly identify what you actually are tolerating and then creating an action plan to eliminate them. And of course, we're going to talk about ways that you can get inspired by success stories of others who were choosing to live a toleration-free life. Colleen Kilpatrick is a multi-talented business owner, creative collaborator, and author of the transformational book, Eliminate What You Tolerate, a simple, proven way to regain focus, increase productivity, and liberate your energy for more important things in life. Colleen is the creator of business brainstorming sessions and toleration elimination virtual parties. She is celebrated for her exceptional ability to break down complex concepts into practical step-by-step solutions that can be understood and implemented with ease. Her extensive experience in marketing, business innovation, personal development, and spiritual teachings, Colleen brings a unique perspective to her work with entrepreneurs, inspiring them to unlock their full potential and courageously share their best gifts with the world. Wow, Colleen, I'm so excited to have you here with your book.
I know, how exciting. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I always appreciate being on the show with you.
And it's just wonderful to have you here.
Thanks so much.
So let's talk about this book, because is this your first book?
It is my first book.
What inspired you to write this book?
So it's interesting because at the end of December, at the end of every year, I usually make a tolerations list. And that is something that I'm going to take with me into the next year, things that I need to eliminate. And tolerations are those, annoying, frustrating, bothersome things that we put up with. So instead of doing a New Year's resolution list, I do a tolerations list. So last December, I was doing my toleration list. And one of the big things I was tolerating was informational clutter in my office, which a lot of business owners can relate to. Specifically, I had a very deep file drawer filled with all the classes I've ever taught over the years. So maybe about 32 different topics between personal development and business. And I looked at all those files and, I hadn't taught them in a while, all those classes. And I thought, okay, Colleen, either you get rid of everything, bring the shredder in and just get rid of everything because you're not going to use these anymore. Or you take a look and you decide if there's something of value in there that you can do something with. You turn it into a book or class or podcast or whatever. And right about that time, you invited me to speak to the Midlife Millionaire group. And I thought, okay, if I'm going to do that, which of these 32 topics would I speak about? And I thought, I want something, because I knew we only had an hour or less together. I thought something that I know will have great impact on them in the shortest period of time, that could really influence their life in a short period of time. And that's why I chose the topic of eliminate what you tolerate, or toleration elimination. And as you'll recall, about a month later, I shared that information with the group. And then a month later, we all got back together and shared what tolerations we had discovered and then eliminated. And the joy and the energy and the excitement in the group and each of the women that shared was so encouraging to me that I thought, you know what, I should take this information and turn it into a book. So that's exactly what I did. That became Eliminate What You Tolerate. And it's the whole class that I used to teach, embellished with more stories and examples. But yeah, that's the story of it.
You know, it's amazing because was that around January that we did that?
Yeah.
We are still all working on tolerations. It inspired us. And let's just think about some of the things people shared that they did, some of the things that were stressing them out. I know I shared that I had all these plants on the floor, like a college student dorm or something. You know, and here I have this beautiful house and I have this window looking out at the lake. And every time I was over there, there'd be dead leaves on the floor, or, you know, you couldn't get in there and really take care of it and keep it nice, you know. And I have a cleaning lady, but she comes every 2 weeks. So I went onto the internet and I ordered 3 gorgeous wrought iron tables. Mm-hmm. And it was really, my husband, he is not one to wait to do things. When he sees a project, you'd love this, right? He just goes for it, gets it done. So each time I had 3 boxes coming, he just whipped those things together and brought them in. And then I got to organize them. And even to this day, it still brings me joy. It brought them off the ground. And, you know, then they got more attention. My plants have never looked so beautiful, and they're filled with flowers, and it just made such a difference. And it was simple. I mean, how long did that take me? I didn't even have to do the tables.
Right. So that's a great point, Katana, because it's not a monumental thing, but every time you look at it, it takes a little of your focus. You walk in that room with a cup of tea to read a book, and what do you see? The plants, the leaves, they're on the floor, and there's this little message in your head about what that means. So where your focus goes, your energy flows. So you're giving a little bit of your energy to every toleration. That's just one of them. And then at the end of the day, that adds up to a lot of energy being sent to all these various things. No wonder we feel spent at the end of the day. So, yeah. So one of the things you just asked was, what were some of the things that other people got rid of? So that your plants was one. Clutter was something that various women reported having gotten rid of. Drawers cleaned out, closets organized, bunch of things eliminated and donated. That was a big one. The other one was for you, and this is common,
a garage, and that's a huge one, right?
You had a document that you wanted to develop that had been calling to you for a long time, a document that you would share with your people that came to see you. But without it, you were sharing somebody else's, right? And so,
yes. And what happened is one of the gals said, Katana, I was trying to print it and it couldn't even print the whole thing. It got discombobulated. And I think that was a message for me, because I said, I know that form is so long. And right then I decided that's it. I'm going to create my own. It's a life planner, and where you organize. So talk about eliminating your tolerations, right? And it's where you organize all the legal, financial documents and personal documents and passwords. And I got it down to, I think, Colleen, under 20 pages.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's beautiful. And so this brings up another point. Financial tolerations are a really big issue for a lot of people. It just bothers them. It's in the back of their mind. They're thinking, I have too much debt, or I don't know what my interest rates are, and I'm not even addressing it. Another one, big one, is I don't have my affairs in order. I don't have my paperwork. I don't have a trust. And so if something were to happen to me, my family would be in chaos. They wouldn't know what to do. They'd have to go to probate. The whole not having a trust, the lack of something can be a challenge.
Yeah. So if we think about it, things with our health, things with our finance, it's just, again, like, physical clutter. And I think a lot of the things have to do with being overwhelmed or unorganized. And Colleen, doesn't it just zap your energy and also zap your confidence? Having these tolerations, these things that we're putting up with in our life, how does that affect our emotions in our confidence?
Yeah. So definitely it zaps our energy, because again, a little bit of our attention is going to all these things. But think about this. If every time you get in the car, You look at it and it's not clean. It's got whatever, junk, groceries, food, or the oil hasn't been changed, or the tires need to be rotated and you just haven't made that a priority. And every time you get in that car, you're reminded, there's a little thought, you're out of control. Like you aren't organized, you don't have your act together. And now think about that. If you're on your way to an important meeting, you're going to go to a sales meeting, let's say, and the whole time you're driving there, you're thinking, I hope today is not the day my engine seizes up because I don't have the right amount of oil in it. I hope today is not the day I get a flat tire because I haven't had my tires addressed. I hope my client doesn't ask to get in my car and go somewhere because it's filthy, right? So right. Your mind's on all of these things when it really should be there in the moment, what you're going to say, being present, being relaxed, so that when you arrive there, you're feeling confident. It really does impact our confidence, how we show up in the world.
Okay, so why is it we tolerate this in our lives?
That's a great question.
And you're speaking my song, because when I get out in my car, I'm realizing, oh, this is right now, it needs vacuuming. But then when I go do my errand and then I come back, I always have something, I need to get back into the house to do something. So I don't do it then. It doesn't happen until I get in the car again. And then you're right. If I'm going to pick someone up, I'm going to be horrified. So why is it we allow this? And then I'd like you to take it to the next step. Like, what can we do? But why is it we allow this? Because it's not just a one thing. It's like all kinds of stuff that we learned when we did the exercise you gave us.
Yeah, for sure. So one of the main reasons that we do put up with things is because we simply become numb to them. So one of the examples I gave was that I had this beautiful tailored double-breasted blazer that when I was in the photography business, I used to wear it to events out in Las Vegas all the time when we were shooting big events. The inner button on the inner panel had fallen off. And instead of taking 5 minutes to sew that button back on, which I'm fully capable of doing, I didn't. But every time I wore that blazer, I'd have to get this big old safety pin, which I just kept right with the blazer, and kind of, turn it upside down and, taking 5 to 10 minutes to put the darn pin in and then out at the end of the night. Why didn't I do anything about it? Because the fix was so easy. But I had just become numb to it, as if when I wore that blazer, I was just going to have to pin it. That's just how it is. And when I first did this exercise and I realized that was a toleration, I thought, oh, I get what these are. We just aren't aware of them as the annoyance or the frustration or the energy drain that they are. So that's, I think, the biggest reason. Another reason is a lot of times we are in a state of resistance. Like, I don't want to make that doctor's appointment because I don't want to hear what he has to say. And I haven't been doing the things he told me to do last time. I just will ignore it. But what happens to things that we ignore? What you resist persists. It stays in your head. Another thing is sometimes we think the act of eliminating a toleration, and although we might not think of it in those words, but the act of overcoming something may require more time, energy, money than we care to invest in it. We assume that. We don't know that. We just think, I don't want to deal with that. It's just too big right now. I'm overwhelmed. And then another reason I have found, Katana, is that people sometimes have a lot of fear around addressing something that might be a big toleration, like downsizing and moving to a smaller home, or facing their financial issues. That can stir up a lot of discomfort. So better to just avoid it. And so they linger on. So
what is the cost to ignoring, avoiding, mainly ignoring and avoiding? What is the cost to us?
So you think about a little bit of your energy, a little cord of energy going to every one of your tolerations. And if you maintain all these tolerations, you're maintaining this flow of energy to all of those tolerations. It's taking all of the energy that could be put into creating something new, writing something, having a guest over, traveling. No, the energy is going to all these little mundane things that are taking your energy. At the end of the day, that's a lot. The big cost that I find to maintaining a lot of tolerations is that you are always in a state of distraction, right? There's always this story behind the scenes of what's going on in your mind. So what that means and how that shows up is that you are never quite focused on what you're doing or the person in front of you, what they're saying, because you've got this little tape in the back of your mind telling you this isn't done. And, oh, you need to, don't forget that. And right. So we're never 100% present in the moment when we maintain a lot of tolerations. And what that means is that we miss out on life because life is lived right here in the moment.
And could it cause us to be sick?
Absolutely, right? Because again, all of our energy is being dispelled into things that aren't important instead of maybe taking care of ourselves or being calm. I mean, stress is one of the main reasons for illness. So it adds to our stress levels to have a lot of toleration.
Okay. So what if someone just starts writing all their tolerations down and then their tolerations to-do list becomes overwhelming, right? Because remember the one day I showed you my to-do list? I got it all cleaned up. I am so thrilled. But I remember showing that to you and saying, this is just unacceptable. I'm sure a lot of people are thinking, yeah, I'll put it on my list and it still won't get done. Right. So tell us, give us an exercise that we can do that makes sense to identify what are we tolerating? And then do we prioritize or do we schedule time? Try to get some tips out of you as far as how do we fix this problem?
Absolutely. So the easiest thing, the first step is to become aware of your tolerations and to write them down. It's not enough to just say, oh, I'm putting up with that and oh, I'm putting up with that. You need to write it down. So I have a handy worksheet that everybody can have at the end of the call where I've broken tolerations down into significant categories of life. So one of the easiest ways that I find when I go to create a new toleration list is I look around my environment. I start with my environment because it's visual. I can see it. I can see what's bothering me. And so I'll make a list of the things in my environment that are tolerations, like a light switch that doesn't work, or a rug that is slipping on the hardwood floor that I really need to either get rid of or put a little non-slip skid underneath it. Those kinds of things, plants that are not being cared for, whatever, dirt, clutter. If you look around your space first, instead of trying to do every category of life, you can start there. Make that list of your environment and start by eliminating those things one by one. I suggest starting small. So if you have a button that needs to be sewed on with one of your possessions or belongings, sew the button on and pay attention to how you feel after that little task is done. Another great one is thank you notes. A lot of people have thank you notes that they feel like they should have written, maybe for a gift or someone who had you over for an event. Write that thank you note to that person. I don't care how long it's been. Write the thank you note and see how you feel afterwards. Pay attention to the uptick in energy that you feel when you start addressing your tolerations. And when you start small, what happens is, and you accomplish something, you get a little dopamine hit in your brain, a little spritz of dopamine in your brain, which is the motivation, feel good chemical. And you start to feel really positive and upbeat and motivated to do more. So then you take that energy and go to the next thing, the bigger thing. So that's one way to do it, is to start small, make a list, and then start eliminating them one by one. The other thing to do, some people like to do, is it's like go big or go home. They find a toleration that's really big and they deal with it like a move or a relationship issue, or they get a new car, or they quit their job, or they apply for a new job. And sometimes those are what I call pivotal tolerations. By addressing one, you address many. You might address a long commute, having to pay high gas prices to a job you don't like, right? So you deal with that, you get a new job, start working from home, you don't have to deal with that anymore. So that's another thing, is to go big, start something.
It could even be relationships you need to clean up. Talk about that. I'm just thinking about that. That, you could be 20 years in tolerating something, a relationship. And
Yes.
that's going to be a really, really tough one, I think. But then there's all these other relationships that are not important, but you still tolerate them, right?
Right. Yeah. And that's something interesting that I just spoke with somebody the other day. She said, I realized that I've been giving a lot of my energy to people who don't really matter to me anymore. They're not fitting in my life anymore. And so I don't really want to give energy to their negativity, let's say. But sometimes what we're putting up with is our own behavior. So it might be somebody else's behavior, but it might be our own behavior and how we show up in that relationship. So sometimes it takes a good hard look at ourselves and say, well, I might not really feel comfortable with this thing that they do, but what am I doing that is part of that, that's maybe bringing that on? So it's also looking at our own behavior, which is illuminating, right?
Or giving yourself permission to create boundaries with someone.
That's another thing. Yeah, absolutely. Creating boundaries with people so they can't do that. And I've heard a lot of that. It's like, my sister, my mother, my brother always does this thing. And I don't want to put up with that anymore. It's like, it's okay. Like, that's a toleration that you can address by having a boundary. Some of our own behaviors. So as I mentioned, to go through your house, to look at your home, and then to look at your possessions, like your clothing, your shoes. A lot of times we're keeping a lot of things in our environment that have attachments to the past, or might have a little negative attachment. And it's time to really address that and say, hey, let's let go of some things. Let's give it a new life with somebody who will really appreciate it. I no longer need it. So that's a toleration we can let go of. But another toleration is, like I said, our own behavior. So when I first did this, rushing was a behavior that I had habitually been doing. And I realized what that was costing me to be rushing. Some people are on their computer too late at night, causing them to wake late, or they're sleeping in late and they really want to meditate in the morning, but they always get up too late and they never have time, going to bed too late. So sometimes it's our own behaviors we're tolerating in ourselves. And it's time to do something about those, to address them and let them go and move on from them, because they're draining us too.
I'm thinking so many of us just have too much stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to admit it, that I have a lot of clothes, and it's very frustrating. I remember when I got rid of all my big clothes, that was major, and that felt super. I mean, lots of suits and everything, because I had lost a lot of weight. But I still have just way too much. I have a good friend that I walked into her walk-in closet and everything was on these beautiful hangers. There was space between. Everything had outfits and hangers. It was gorgeous. And she says whenever she buys something new, she sees, what can I get rid of? But when she walks into her closet, she always feels joyful. She always has choices for beautiful, freshly cleaned, just sparkling clothing. I mean, doesn't that just sound so exciting?
Yeah.
Versus having tons of stuff, but nothing to wear. So you always wear the same thing or the same 5 things. And then one of the things you just barely talked about is the fear. I don't know if the fear is that I might need this, or what do I do with it? So can you address the fears around getting rid of things and how to get past that? And if you do have a tip for what to do with the stuff, with the clothing.
So yes, there is fear around letting go, like especially for women, if they've lost weight. It's like, if I let go of these pieces of clothing that I used to fit into, what if I gain weight and I need it back? That's challenging. What if I don't find a coat? Let's say, if I let go of this coat, I don't like it. Let's say I can't find a coat that is the right length and the right color for what I need. There's fear around that. Shoes, boots, the same kind of thing. But let's say, you look in your closet. Closet is a great example, clothing closet. And you think, I don't like that. You put it on. I don't feel good in it. I don't like the way it looks on my neck, whatever. What do you do with it? So I'm with you. I take a lot of responsibility in what I do with the things that I pass on. There's this saying, there is no away, like I'm going to throw it away. There is no away. There's the earth or there's the sea, or they're going to burn it up. That's it. You got 3 choices. Where do you want your stuff to go? So I take that seriously. So I have found charities, smaller charities, that do something with every single thing that is donated to them. So they work with a network of charities, and they have a place for clothing. They have a place for home goods for resettling refugees who need, they need linens and towels and blankets, pillows, that kind of thing, home care, garden, whatever. They do something with everything, and they sell things. And so when they sell it, they turn that into food or gift cards or gas cards for people. But everything is dealt with. The other thing that is, I think, very important when getting rid of things is to make the things clean. Clean the thing up, fix it up, so that the people who are often volunteers don't have to do that. And they don't want to clean your stuff, right? So clean your things, organize it, put it in boxes by category if you can. Housewares, kitchenwares, women's clothing, size 6, whatever. Put it in boxes. And so when it gets to the distribution center, it's so much easier for them. The lady I know who runs this, she said it's so helpful if they put things of like kind together, because then we just take it to that part of our center and put all the books out or all the CDs or whatever. It's a way for them to really fully utilize your things, and you to feel good, have good conscience about what you're doing, the things that you do. Yeah. So Absolutely donate everything you can, recycle when you can. There are places online, what to do with things that I'm discarding. There are websites that tell you what to do with things. There's Hazardous Waste Day. If you have one in your community, we just had one last Saturday. Everything that has a cord or a battery needs to go in hazardous waste. Otherwise it goes in the landfill, televisions, all the housewares. So for sure.
Wow, this has just gone so quickly and so information packed. I loved it. So if people want to connect with you, is there anything, first of all, that we have missed? And then can you please share how people can connect with you and get the checklist, and tell them what to do with the checklist too.
Yeah. So the checklist, if you'll look at this on the right side, are all the different categories of things. They're just thought starters for your tolerations. And there's only 27 or so spaces here, 27 items that you can list here. Most people are tolerating up to 100 things at any one time. And what you do is once you bring it to the forefront, then you start eliminating it. I suggest meeting with other people to encourage one another, share this experience with other people, with friends, have a toleration elimination buddy. It's pretty amazing and energizing when you do this together, like our group. So they can go to my Facebook page, Colleen Kilpatrick on Facebook, and get this. It'll be available as a post, and they can do that. Also, the companion book that goes with it, Eliminate What You Tolerate, that is on Amazon. And so they can do a search for Eliminate What You Tolerate with my name, Colleen Kilpatrick.
I'll tell you what, if they go and do this, they are not going to be disappointed. And we've got around 10 ladies who have been meeting together for going into the second year now. I think it's been 2 years. And we're all doing this together. And we're going into 5 months. And that's still been our focus. And it's pretty excited. I'm so grateful that you shared that with all of us at the Midlife Millionaire Solution. Thank you so much, Colleen.
You are welcome, Katana. Thank you so much. Always appreciate it very much.
Absolutely. Thanks, Colleen. Okay, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you got a lot out of this. I sure did. And I'm so thrilled to be working with brilliant people like Colleen who share their wisdom and being able to bring them to you every month. If you'd like to become part of our free community, you can go to joinsmartwomen.com. When you do, you'll get on our mailing list. You'll get our monthly newsletter with topics on inspiration and happiness and health and finances and business, lots of topics. So you'll know who our guests are. You'll have access to the free goodies and events that we do too. So it's joinsmartwomen.com. And until our next show, go out and live with more purpose, passion, and prosperity. Smart Women Talk is brought to you by Smart Women's Empowerment, a 501c3 nonprofit project of United Charitable. Music by Bill Lucas from his album, When It Rains. Available on Apple Music and Spotify. Catch us wherever you listen to your favorite podcast, and be sure to join our free community at joinsmartwomen.com to access all our free Smart Women resources.